Your digital scale shows a drop this morning. No rain, no physical theft, no swarming. Outside, we record perfect external intake. Visually, your hive is at peak capacity. You open the hive and find frames that are absolutely full. Honey is dripping. It looks shiny and liquid. But beneath that visual perfection lies an acute operational problem. That honey may never ripen. Your bees may never cap it with wax. At this moment, you are already losing quality, triggering a fermentation process and terminally destroying the entire harvest. Why does the product sometimes refuse to dry, even during a massive nectar influx? The answer lies in an invisible physical conflict. It is a rigid collision between the internal conditions of the hive and the ambient dew point in the outside air. Your bees can ventilate with their wings to physiological failure, but if the air around the hive is already saturated with moisture, the battle is mathematically lost. This stall not only causes yield loss, it creates chemical instability. Today, we conduct deep process analytics of this mystery for the US market, from the wet forests of Florida to the Canadian prairies and Australian coasts. We demystify why the bees cannot eliminate water when ambient air is saturated. We reveal how one amateur decision locks moisture in your hive. This is not a romantic story. This is exact survival physics and protection of your capex and your bottom line. Let's move to the data. Honey is not a finished product the moment the foragers bring it into the hive. Raw nectar is strictly an input. In its initial phase, it contains between 60 and 80% water. For this liquid to become an economically valid product ready for extraction, the water percentage must be reduced to 18.6% or lower for top-grade honey. Anything above that threshold is a high-risk zone for fermentation. This means your bees must physically eliminate a huge amount of moisture from the enclosed space. How does the hive achieve this? Bees activate three exact mechanisms: aggressive wing ventilation, raising internal temperature, and physically spreading nectar in microscopically thin layers. Bees raise the interior temperature to around 35 degrees Celsius in the brood area. Warmer air has a higher capacity to hold water vapor. Through wing fanning, thousands of bees create cross airflow. They draw in dry air through the entrance and extract humid air outside. However, here the hive hits a thermodynamic wall. Evaporation depends on the vapor pressure deficit, VPD. A strict physical law governs. Water evaporates only if the air has the capacity to take on that moisture. Every volume of air has its maximum limit for water vapor absorption. When ambient air reaches 100% relative humidity, the hive enters the dew point state. At that specific moment, the ambient air cannot take in a single additional gram of moisture. The evaporation process inside the hive practically stops. If outside humidity is 90 to 100%, there is no diffusion of moisture outward. Your bees then work in vain. They burn their own energy, generating enormous operational cost, OPEX, yet the moisture level remains stuck at 20 to 25%. They are literally pushing moisture into air that has no more capacity to absorb it. The battle is lost. This physical stall is not a local incident. It is a global problem dictated by the macroclimate of your location. We have already systematically processed this series in previous reports. Let's analyze specific markets. In the United States, operators harvesting Tupelo honey in the swamps of Florida and Georgia face extreme dew points. The air is chronically saturated. It is very difficult to obtain naturally capped honey below 18.6% moisture in such an atmosphere. Similarly, in the Pacific Northwest during late spring flows, chronic fog blocks moisture diffusion from the hive. In the United Kingdom, beekeeping on heather, Calluna vulgaris, in the Scottish hills or early spring pastures in England occurs under conditions of extreme humidity and low temperatures. The outside air is constantly near the dew point. When bees bring cold and humid air into the hive, it instantly drops the internal brood temperature. In Canada, explosive flows on endless fields of canola in Alberta or Saskatchewan bring hundreds of kilograms of nectar in a few days. The intake is so massive that the bees physically cannot process that volume of water before new input is added, especially during cold Canadian nights when moisture condenses. In Australia, Coastal areas of Queensland and New South Wales during macadamia or specific eucalyptus flowering are often hit by tropical downpours. The air becomes a moisture repository. In all these scenarios, you as the beekeeper see full frames, heavy product, but without a single cap. Then most amateurs make a catastrophic decision. They try to help the hive by adding new supers. This move exponentially worsens the situation. By adding space, you directly increase the total air volume the bees must dehumidify. At the same time, you radically drop heat concentration. Bees instantly lose control of internal conditions. Another critical mistake is opening the roof or placing spacers at night for ventilation. Warm, moisture-laden air escapes, while cold, saturated air enters and directly condenses on cold honey. Instead of solving the problem, you accelerate fermentation. If you want to understand these hidden physical mechanisms that directly dictate your profit and the economic value of your asset, press the subscribe button and follow the Eterna channel. We do not tolerate romance here. We analyze real mistakes that cost you capital. I require your data in the comments below. Have you had a situation where the honey sits in the hive for weeks and never caps? What was your highest honey moisture percentage this season in your specific climate zone, especially USA regions? The discussion is open. If you want to save your harvest and protect your capex, turn on notifications, because now we move to surgically precise technical solutions. Fixing this systemic error requires a total paradigm shift. You cannot control external meteorology, but you absolutely must control the input parameters of your production system. Here are 3 strict protocols for system stabilization. Protocol 1. Entrance control and the Venturi effect. Amateurs believe that a wide open entrance helps ventilation. When the ambient dew point is high, a wide opening is your worst enemy. You must reduce the entrance to a minimum of 5 to 8 centimeters. By narrowing the physical opening, you mathematically increase the velocity of air passing through the hive. This physical phenomenon is called the Venturi effect. The hive then much more easily creates a vacuum that aggressively extracts humid air. The focus must be on directed aerodynamics, not passive space openings. Protocol 2. Rigid management of internal volume. The space inside the hive is simultaneously a heat insulator and a moisture trap. Do not add new supers without absolute necessity. Empty supers above the brood during the ripening phase create a buffer zone. Warm air cools there, reaches its dew point, and condensed water falls back onto your frames with product. The solution is brutal volume control. Reduce volume. Keep only the volume bees can thermally manage. Nylon or plywood sheets must be positioned directly on the frames. Protocol 3. Work with thermodynamic windows. Drying occurs only when ambient humidity drops, external temperature rises, and adequate wind circulation exists. These are the only windows when the hive can finish the job. Your only relevant tool is a digital refractometer. Do not wait for caps. When the refractometer shows a value between 17.8 and 18.6%, that is your production window. Perform extraction. In Florida swamps or rainy parts of the UK, the hive physically will not be able to drop moisture below 17.5 to 18% in many cases. If you wait for an illusory 16.5%, you will miss the economic window, and due to hygroscopicity, the honey will start absorbing moisture from the air back into cells. What happens if you have already lost control of the dew point and extracted honey with 19 to 22% moisture? The situation is critical, but not terminal. If you leave such a product in buckets, fermentation is mathematically guaranteed. The solution is no longer biological, but strictly physical. The process moves outside the hive. Saving your capex requires implementing post-harvest drying in a climate chamber. This is the absolute standard for commercial operators in humid zones of North America and Australia. Stack honey supers on top of each other in an absolutely closed and dry room. Use spacers of 1 to 2 centimeters between supers to allow aerodynamic flow. Place a strong fan to push air vertically through the systems. The key element of this architecture is an industrial dehumidifier. It must reduce the room's relative humidity to 40 to 50% at a controlled temperature of 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. With aggressive dry airflow, you will physically extract 2 to 3% moisture from the product within 24 to 48 hours. Do a precise ROI calculation. Investment in one dehumidifier is negligible compared to the total economic loss of hundreds of kilograms of fermented asset. Moisture problems in the hive are not a weather accident. They are a direct manifestation of your misunderstanding of atmospheric physics and hive thermodynamics. Once you understand that your hive is actually one huge biological heat exchanger, you will stop making amateur mistakes. Unripe products are an economic waste. It means irreversible quality loss, risk of explosive fermentation, and drastic price drop on the raw global market. Understanding vapor pressure deficit, VPD, and dew point gives you the power to surgically control the quality of your final product. A scientific approach to management is not an optional luxury, but an absolute economic necessity. Do not let invisible moisture suddenly destroy a whole season's work. Track thermodynamic parameters and always operate based on data. Inside the hive, this problem has another hidden layer that most operators completely ignore. Moisture is not evenly distributed. It forms microzones. The upper part of the hive functions as an accumulation zone for warm, humid air. The lower part remains relatively cooler. When the hive loses the ability to expel moisture, vertical stratification occurs. Warm, moisture-saturated air remains above the honey supers. When temperature drops, which happens every night, that air reaches dew point directly above your product. Condensation does not occur in the air. It happens directly on the honey surface. This means your hive not only fails to eliminate moisture, it begins reintegrating it back into the cells. This is a critical point, because at that moment, honey stops being a stable system. Water content exceeds roughly 18.5 to 19%, and osmotic pressure favorable for yeast development activates. Fermentation does not start abruptly. It begins quietly. First, viscosity changes. Then microscopic gas activity appears. And only at the end does visible spoilage occur. When you, as the beekeeper, notice the problem, the hive is already lost. This is why the moisture mistake is unforgiving. It has no early visual signal. It acts as a silent economic collapse inside a perfectly looking product. If this process of analytics changed your paradigm and helped protect your capital, leave a like. It gives us a signal to continue creating analytics based on exact numbers. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, press the subscribe button, and share this report with other operators in the industry. In the next episode of this series, we leave thermodynamics and go directly to the chemical level of the system. We explore the silent killer of your yield, something that accumulates in your asset for years and permanently destroys your biological generators from the inside. You will watch Poison in the Comb: How Wax Becomes a Time Bomb. You will learn how to perform a strict chemical audit of your own infrastructure and whether the organic system is even physically possible in today's environment. The difference between average and top results is not in the amount of physical work. The difference is exclusively in understanding the system algorithm. Protect your biological units, but above all, measure the data. See you in the next report.